Hey guys, Youngblood with you, and today I wanted to kind of talk about my wish list. And part of this came, from doing the roadmap updates with, Drathamus and Kool-Aid that we did on the Duality episode. And some of this is just me thinking long-term in this game. What is it that I still want to see? And some of this is stuff that's actually already planned, and some of this is stuff that they haven't really mentioned. So I'm going to just talk to you guys about what I want to see in this game. What I think could help with the overall, meta game. What I think could help out with gameplay variety. Just things that I want to see. And I'm curious what you guys want to see after I'm done with my list. So please, add your wish list to mine. Throw it in the comments, and we'll kind of see where we're on the same page and where we differ. So starting out, one thing that is coming that I'm excited to see is Continental Lattice. It's something that's going to come with the new continent and Hassan with the battle islands, and in general, just new content is exciting. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm also really looking forward to the fact that it's going to force fights into relevant areas, and we're going to get to see new places and fight in places that haven't been real populated. Esamir's pretty much been a ghost town unless there's an alert over there, and even then, there's still a big population fighting on Indar. So having home continents and that lattice is going to be interesting to see how it all plays out, in addition to just being excited about Hassan. Having home continents and warp gates, etc., I think it's going to help with the metagame. People are going to be more involved, more interested. And lastly, I'm looking forward to the ability to be able to take vehicles from continent to continent, flying through the Nexus at the warp gate and showing up with your vehicle and being able to keep it. It's frustrating when you're playing with an outfit and you just pull a tank and all of a sudden you have to call an audible and move to another continent, and then you're like, well, crap, there goes that tank. So I'm looking forward to that. Kind of along the same lines of vehicles, the next thing on my wish list is the Galaxy. And I want the Galaxy to be able to transport vehicles. Now, I don't care if this is just a new airframe that you can put on. So maybe instead of like Racer or High G, you can put on a Lodestar variety. Or perhaps it's just a new vehicle like it was in Planetside 1 where it becomes the Lodestar. Ideally, I think the simplest solution is to just make it an airframe that you can add onto your Galaxy. I think being able to transport vehicles is something that's going to help you provide diversity to game and play styles. It's giving pilots more roles, especially those that just like flying Galaxies. Continents like Amherst really need to have more vehicle transport abilities. It's hilly, it's mountainous. Aircraft is dominant there, but there's times where you want vehicles, and if you want to drive from point A to point B, it takes forever because there's a mountain in your way. I think there's going to be some similarities on Hassan, where having the ability to actually transport a vehicle by air is something that's going to help you out. Now, it also makes for more complicated tactics, and it kind of lets you play a little bit, I've talked before, when it came to Lattice, I wasn't a huge fan because it kind of watered down the strategic variety that you could apply in the game. That being said, being able to transport vehicles is something that I think kind of adds a new variety and kind of spices things up a little bit. So it's new tactics and new variety that I think is good for the game. Now, with this, I think it's important that it takes time to unload vehicles, and I think the gal should have to land to drop off the vehicles. I don't think you should be able to just do an airdrop and have it parachute to the ground. I think you need to be able to land, unload the vehicles, and then the drivers get in. So in my mind, I think, okay, a flash, it takes 2 seats out of the gal, or you could take up to like 5 flashes. A harasser maybe takes 4 seats out of the gal, and you can take 2 of them. Maybe you can transport a lightning. That takes out 8 seats out of the Galaxy, so you could maybe just have 3 other people driving in there. You can only take 1 lightning. And then maybe the main battle tanks. You can still transport 1, but the only seats left are for the gal pilot and the tank driver. Those are just things that I'm kind of thinking of, and I think ways that it could be balanced pretty well. I just don't know if it's something that's... I don't know if it's perfect or, hitting the nail on the head, but I think that's an ability I would love to see in the game, and it's something I'm really hoping actually happens. Now, I talked a while ago about, Empire-specific lib weapons and things that I really want to see. And I think, we've got the Duster and the Hyena and the Spur, the new guns that came out. And I think that's great. I like seeing new content. I like seeing new weapons. That being said, I really like Empire-specific stuff. And it feels like it's been quite a while since we've gotten anything Empire-specific. So, with that in mind, one of the things that everybody cries for, and I don't mean that in a negative way because I'm one of the people doing it too, I would love to see bombs implemented into the game. I'm not necessarily a fan of artillery at this point, and I think something like that could work in the game, but it's not necessarily on my wish list, but something like bombs definitely is. It gives a new role for Liberator pilots. It makes like an airframe like Racer probably a lot more viable. So I think a way that we could maybe get into doing Empire-specific bombs is just to have them be slightly different. So here's what I'm thinking. I think the NC gets a cluster bomb. And what I mean by cluster bomb is maybe 2 bombs on each wing. You drop them, they start to fall from the sky. As soon as they get close to the ground, they break off into maybe a dozen smaller bombs. You're pretty much carpet bombing without having to do that long line of bombs like you see from like World War II vehicles, or even from like the stealth bombers in today's world. Basically, 2 bombs, they kind of break off into lots of little bombs right before they hit the ground. Large area of effect. Not a huge amount of direct damage, but a lot of indirect damage, and something that I think is kind of fitting the NC overall. Now, if you kind of go back to the lore, the TR is more about like is more similar to an organized military. And I think for an organized military, something that we could maybe put into place would be something like a smart bomb. Now, how does this actually work? I'm thinking that the gunner, and in all of these situations, the gunner is actually, in the Liberator, you've got your pilot, you've got your belly gunner. Your belly gunner is the one that's actually programming or firing the bombs. So for the smart bombs, I'm thinking that the gunner has to program where the bomb is actually going to land. Now, as they're doing that, they are looking at the minimap, and then they can pick where the target actually is going to land. However, there's a certain radius around where that target is, where if you launch the bomb inside that radius, it will hit that spot. However, once you enter that radius, you cannot change the location of where that bomb is going to hit. Basically meaning that you're going to have to program that bomb ahead of time. And then once you get in there, if you're within that radius, you hit fire, it is going to hit where you told it to land. That's a location on the map. That's not going to be a specific vehicle, for example. So I think what something like this could do is it's a high damage weapon, and it's going to reward teams that are working well. It's going to be a good Zerg buster. But that being said, it does kind of balance itself out, because after you're in that radius, you can't change where it's going to land. And if you're trying to bomb a vehicle, the vehicle can then move. Kind of confusing. If that doesn't make sense, let me know, and I'll try and do some sort of visual or something to help out. And then the last one, I think VS, I think it's going to be, or what it's going to be, what I would like to see is kind of a combination of a lower explosive ordnance, but that also has an EMP effect. Basically kind of going on the technological advantage of the VS. It's going to do damage to the optics for vehicles, making it harder for vehicles to be effective, especially against their other enemies. It's going to scramble the HUD for infantry, and it's going to do some mild damage. So if you are working as a team, especially in combined arms, the EMP effect your EMP effect on the enemy armor for your friendly ground is going to help them take it out. Teamwork, and I love that idea, and I think it could be a lot of fun. The next thing on my wish list is actually going to be more Empire-specific vehicles, and I just talked about how I want to see more Empire-specific weapons, vehicles. It doesn't matter. I want to see new stuff that matters between the factions. The next vehicle that we know of that's coming out is going to be the Valkyrie. Now, with the Valkyrie, it's not too late. We can make that into, and I say it's not too late, depending on how patient we as a community are willing to be. If we can make the Valkyrie into a Empire-specific vehicle, I think that's a great opportunity to introduce that into the game. So here's what I'm envisioning. It's still a transport vehicle, and as a transport vehicle, it's going to have one gun on each side of its open doors. So kind of think about just a lightly armed transport, kind of like the Harasser is. So with that in mind, I think we can do this to a point where maybe for the VS, I'm trying to think which Star Wars it is. It's either the first or the second prequel, and I'll put up a picture of the ship that I'm envisioning. But it's got the 2 turrets on the side, kind of in the little balls that are hanging off the side that shoot off lasers. I think something like this without the massive cannons on top could be something similar, or would be good for the VS. It kind of fits into that category. Maybe again you make it more maneuverable than the other factions, but it's a little bit slower. For the TR, I kind of envision something like the Huey. in today's current military. It's got, the side guns, the chain guns on the side. That kind of fits with the TR trend. Granted, I want it to look more sleek than a Huey. Make it, kind of match the artwork and the practicality of the TR. However, I think having those chain guns on the side, again, and I'm sure TR's over there going, oh, great, Youngblood, more chain guns. Well, whatever. It's what you're known for, and it's something that's at least different, so you can be separate from the other factions. For the NC, I was having a hard time coming up with something in addition, so maybe we keep the current design of the current Valkyrie. And then on the side, everybody's crying for a railgun, so maybe we get railguns on the side. But again, that's something else that needs to be developed, so hell, put air hammers on the side for all I care. Give us more shotguns, but it's different. Not the weapon, the vehicles are different from each other, and that's what I want to see. I think we can change the Valkyrie, especially if we get some good ideas, if the developers are willing to do it. It does provide more diversity to the game, and that is what I want to see. Last two things on the wish list that I have are going to both be infiltrator related. One we know is actually coming, and that's going to be the straight bolt pull. For those of you that are not familiar with what that is, it's basically the ability to stay sighted in while you rack another round. Sounds very simple. Something that's is really helpful for long-range snipers. I'm looking forward to seeing it be in the game. And the last one's infiltrator hacking. I think we can do more. Everybody's talking about hacking vehicles, and I want to see that as well. Now, when we talk about hacking vehicles, I don't necessarily think it should be like a turret. You can walk up to a tank, hack it, and then all of a sudden you can jump into it, and the other person gets booted out. However, maybe you can disable a vehicle for a certain amount of time. Or maybe it just kind of scrambles their optics on the tank. I don't know. But you should be able to do something. I don't think you should be able to take it over unless maybe you can encourage them to get out of their tank, at which point you could then maybe hack it and take over it. The one that I don't really hear anybody talking about, but I think would be cool, is especially like an ability to hack like an ammo tower. Go in, you can hack an ammo tower, and then your team can then pick up ammunition off of that tower. I think it would be something that could suit, it would kind of let more people know that you have hacked something in the area. However, it's just more stuff the infiltrator can be involved in, giving them a bigger role overall in the game. So, that's my overall list. That's my wish list. I'm sure there's more things that I want to see in the game, but that's what's kind of on my immediate radar and what I really, really want to see. If you agree, let me know in the comments. If you disagree, like that's a terrible idea, let me know in the comments. Or if you just have other stuff in mind, let me know in the comments. So, stay tuned for a whole lot more content. Thanks for watching, and take care.